Hello, crafty friends. I'm Jessica, and here we turn blank canvases into handmade magic. So let's get started. Today, we have the next installment of the Together by Design monthly collaboration between some of me and my crafty besties. This month for February, we did decide to go ahead and feature Pinkfresh Studios. So I'm excited to have a little bit of product from one of their more recent releases. And of course, I love a good floral and spring feeling vibe. So I gravitated to this one totally, completely all in. I am ready for spring. I live in a colder climate in Michigan and I just am done with winter. So let's do some cards, do some mass producing here today, and dream of warmer weather. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp the images. The really great thing about this stamp set is these little images are all connected in one single stamp. So it's one ink up, one press of your stamp positioner, and a very clean result. And then there are these coordinating products to go along with it. Pinkfresh is really well known for having these suites, is what I would call them, for each individual image of their stamps. So this stamp set has coordinating stencils, coordinating dies, and there is also a press plate slash hot foil plate that you can also purchase that coordinates. I only purchased the stencils, the stamp set, and the coordinating dies here today. I grabbed a couple of my favorite colors. One of the things I noticed about this particular set is we're going to be doing some layering of color over everything. So the year is, I think, I like 5 or 6 stencils, and through the colors that you choose, you get these layered kind of highlights that add dimension to some of these images, specifically the lemon. So when we're inking up here today, each layer, I went ahead and did the greenery, which covers everything, and then we go ahead and we're going to move forward with the rest of the coloring. I wanted to show you here that I had a little bit of leakage underneath my stencil, and that can happen sometimes if you have an overly juicy stencil, or maybe you're just like not tapping off and that color gets underneath your stencil and seeps out. But no worries. While I'm doing this one on camera, I have already done some extra panels prior to this, but I did want to walk through this stencil process with you here today, especially when I talked about earlier about these like colors that you're going to kind of layer. So right on this stencil specifically, I'm using this kind of mid-tone pink, and as you'll notice, you're getting some highlight colors on those yellows. And because it's a pink over a yellow, it's going to kind of change that color and it's going to look more a little bit on the orangey side. So that's the unique things about these stencils, is that while there is, 5 or 6 of them, we're still doing a lot of jobs or processes in at least one stencil. So when you're thinking of your colors, you kind of have to think about the colors that are going to coordinate together, specifically when it comes to those highlights or those little extra fold colors on that yellow floral, and making sure that you're choosing colors that are going to blend well, and then also coordinate here to, that makes sense in your highlighting. So we are finished. That did take pretty quickly. I know I have it sped up here, but it wasn't too bad. They lined up for the most part very, very well, and I was able to knock those panels out very quickly. So I went ahead and used the coordinating die set off camera. It is also one single die when you are cutting out the floral images and the fruit image here, so which is really nice. So we went ahead and you can just line it up once, run it through, and it cuts out every single little image. There are also coordinating sentiments dies that are included, which you'll see those later. Now, I had a vision for this cards, specifically for the lemon, when I was looking at this stamp set and when I purchased it. I had a vision of this blue background with this little pop of yellow lemon, and then this like white in between layer. But because I want to also show how it's really easy to mass produce with these cards, I cut out a couple extra little tidbits, and we're going to make 4 cards today. They're going to be very, very simple. just love sometimes when I can sit down and make multiple cards. I can take just as much time to make 4 cards as sometimes it takes me to make 1 card, but it just kind of depends on the look that you're going for. These are very, very simple. So I went ahead and stamped the sentiments off camera as well, or on camera, but then went and cut them out off camera. I really like the white border that these sentiments have with the dies. It did cut very, very closely to it, and I kind of like that ratio of that white around the black lettering. So we're just going to quickly go through and add all of the panels onto the card bases. You could create a little bit more dimension here by adding these colored cardstocks through an embossing folder to just add a little extra layer to making them just a little less simple. I went full simple with these. I did like the clean look of having that solid background with the white little shape die here, and then just letting those images kind of shine for these cards. I do wish maybe the images were just slightly bigger. You know, the part of my brain that wants that ratio aspect would have liked them to have been a little bit bigger, but I'm working with what we have here today. So I'm using my favorite foam tape. This is Altenew uh, Instant Dimension foam tape, my absolute favorite for popping up. These will still go through the mail without additional postage as long as you only have the 1 layer. Sometimes I can get very crazy on my foam layering, but this one is just a single little pop-up, but it's got a nice uh gosh, I can't think of that terminology. Loft. It has a nice loft to it. This little white tool is new from Simon Says Stamp here within the last couple months or year, and it's a adhesive remover. And at first I was kind of like, I don't know if I really need it, but it does come in handy specifically for these longer backed foam tapes, and more specifically the Simon Says Stamp foam tape can be a little bit harder to get that release backing off of, and that little tool kind of helps lift it. It works really, really well. So because we did pop up that white layer, I am just using some liquid glue to go ahead and get the sentiments adhered. I'm using my workhorses here in the craft room, the blocks, to go ahead and get that taken care of. We love a good stamp set that when their sentiments are so versatile like these are, that you know they both match for the fruit and for the florals. And I really love the mix of the different fonts. 10 out of 10. Really love this little set. I'm sure this is not the last time that I'll be using it. So right now, after I've gone ahead and put all the sentiments on, I'm going through and just fussy fiddling my way into trying to determine if I'm going to use 1 image or if I'm going to use the 2. And I did decide to use the 2. And then I went ahead and used Simon's thinner loft foam squares to go ahead and add a little extra dimension by lifting these up. Now I did use that thicker foam tape for the in between the white background and the colored, but adding these a little additional foam squares shouldn't increase the postage. I don't have a lot of problems with that, but I do know that some do. If you're ever worried about the postage, you can go ahead and take them into your local post office. Or I also know Christina Warner has done a really fantastic job on creating some helpful guides in knowing if you should add additional postage or not. So I really recommend checking those out. And we're just going to finish these cards with some simple Pinkfresh jewels in gold and silver. Again, these cards are very simple. Not my usual style, but I just had this vision of that really beautiful blue and yellow lemon when I first saw this set, and I knew I wanted to go ahead and accomplish it. So we're going to use some liquid glue to get these jewels down, and those are the cards for today. Let me know in the comments below if you like these mass-produced more simple cards, or if you're a little bit more on the artistic side where you like them to be a little bit more paint driven or splatter or a little bit more dimension. So let me know. Thank you so much for watching. From a blank canvas to handmade magic, I hope this project inspired you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next creative session. Happy crafting!